Now, blessed are we, because we have the entire Bible, and we get to see everything that he wants to say. But my point is, as he revealed stuff about his personality, about the way he wants things done, there's a lot to learn as we just go step by step, age by age. What did God reveal in this time that he wanted us to know about how he wants us to function as generous people on his planet? Does that make sense? So we're going to try to grow in our understanding. God's gave us understanding that grew over the centuries about how he wants us to relate generously, and we're going to grow today by evaluating those different eras, and hopefully we're going to grow in generosity ourselves. Should we do it? Let's start with the first era. That is the era of the early Bible heroes like Abraham, and here's the first era: faith, thanks, and reverence. God was trying to teach us faith, thanks, and reverence. One of the reasons he was trying to teach us this, we're going to see, is because he wanted us to know very clearly in every century, then and now, he wants us to know you are not all there is, and you are not why you're blessed. You are not all there is, and you are not why you're blessed. In fact, I've created a lot of other people, and I am the one who has blessed you. Even when you've done things that have led to your blessing, behind that was me, God says. I'm the one who gave you those opportunities. I'm the one who gave you that education. I'm the one who caused you to be born in that particular place. I'm the one who opened the door for you to be able to attain that or whatever. God says, really all your blessing is from me, even if you've done certain things that seem to cause it here on earth. Now we're going to go all the way almost back to the beginning. Genesis 4:3, two brothers. They've inherited sin from their parents. They're noticing the world around them is very good. They recognize, it's just kind of right that I look at my creator, and even though I don't have a microwave and I don't have a cell phone, I still have a lot of good stuff, and God is the reason for that, and God deserves my acknowledgement for that. Verse 3, when it was time for the harvest, Cain presented some of his crops as a gift to the Lord. Abel also brought a gift, the best portions of the firstborn lambs of his flock. The Lord accepted Abel and his gift, but he did not accept Cain and his gift. This made Cain very angry, and he looked dejected. Cain goes on to murder his brother. But let's just look at those two brothers and learn some lessons from them. First, they recognize it's right for me to bring God something. Now, what we've got to understand is they represent two different approaches to our relationship with God. We could do a whole series probably on Cain and Abel, but let's just boil it down to real simple. Abel represents, I'm sure that he had a good heart. I'm sure that he was very reverential, but it's more than just his heart was right. He brought something that God made to God. He brought an animal or animals, and he said, I didn't do this. It's not my work that created this. God, your work created this. I'm just giving you back what is yours as a way to honor you. And I recognize something has to die to make up for sin. It's right in the beginning of the Bible, man. In fact, when his parents first sinned, what did God have to do? He had to kill animals to make skins to cover their nakedness. And so he grows up knowing, I guess like when you do something really wrong, God has to kill something in order to cover that sin with that blood, with that some kind of offering in place of me. And so he brings God an offering the same way that his parents would have put on those animal skins. Cain brings something else. And it's really important when we see that he gave grain. In Genesis 3:17, it says that cursed is the ground. It will only produce now by the sweat of man's brow. It'll only happen because you work. If you work really hard, the ground will now, it's not just going to come up. If you work really hard, the ground will now produce stuff. And so, figuratively speaking, I know this is a little bit difficult to grasp, but just think about it. Cain represents us bringing our works to God and kind of saying, here's my payoff. Here, I'm paying you off for what I did wrong. Hope this is good enough. Okay, this is my religious duty. There you go, God. There's my payoff. And God says, I don't accept your payoff. You don't have enough grain in the universe to pay off sin. The only thing that covers sin is the blood of an innocent. Abel brings the blood of an innocent, and God says, I accept that. And it's all a precursor, it's all a prefigure of Jesus Christ. It's all to teach everybody in the Bible and down through the centuries, your work is not going to work. You can't be religious enough. You can't be churchy enough. You can't be Bible-y enough. You can't be smart enough. You just need to be blood-covered enough. And you only get blood-covered enough by Jesus Christ. That is the gospel right at the beginning. God is communicating that to us. So these folks, they recognize I owe God something, and I'm only really giving back to God what was God's to begin with. Are we hearing that? Noah and Abraham both, as we go throughout Genesis, we see they both recognize God has blessed me / protected me. Noah knows, okay, I survived the ark, I survived the flood because God protected me. And so he brings an offering to God. Abraham wins this battle against all these kings. He gets his nephew Lot back, and he recognizes after he gets through this war, oh my gosh, it was God that protected me. It was God that kept me alive. And so he gives an offering. The only way he knows, he tithes. He gives 10% to this priest named Melchizedek. Melchizedek is the representative of God, and Abraham recognizes him, and he says, this guy is closer to God than me. He has more spiritual authority than me. I don't know. Maybe he can do something with this. I'm just going to give him 10% of what I got and hope that the Lord receives that as reverence toward him, not toward this priest. We learn later that Melchizedek also represents Jesus Christ in another way. Man, the whole doggone Bible's about Jesus. How many know that? But either way, the point is they were thankful. They were thankful. They were thankful. They had reverence. They recognized not everything that they have is from them. It's from God. And so they said, in light of that, I should do something to demonstrate my thankfulness. It's weird when we don't say thank you. I mean, think about all the places, okay, let's say you get an Uber somewhere. Even though you paid that Uber driver, you're going to get out of the car and you're going to say probably thank you. You paid them and you're still saying thank you. And if you don't say thank you, they'll probably feel weird and you'll feel weird. What about, even if someone covers your shift, okay? You're working and someone covers your shift, they're getting paid, and you're still gonna be like, wow, man, that's awesome that you did that. Thank you. Thank you for having my back like that. If somebody gets up their seat on the bus and they give you their seat, it's not a big deal, but you're still, it's a very, very little deal, and you're still like, oh, thank you. I acknowledge you. You're a human, and you did that for me. That's awesome. And so isn't it weird that we don't thank God for everything that God has done? Think about what God has done for you just today. Think about, you have shelter, probably most of us. You have clothes on, okay? That's great. You've probably already eaten, and you'll probably eat again. For many of us, you even live in a place where there's a pretty view. Like you can look out the window somewhere in the home and be like, that's pretty over there. I get to see this. This is where I get to wake up. Not everybody does. Every one of us here in the room, most of those around the world, you are free, meaning you can do whatever you want next. Whatever you want. You can just go do that. That freedom was given you by God. So we'll thank the person that covers our shift or that takes a picture of us while we pose with somebody, but we won't thank God? Did you see how weird that is? And even the very first humans, they're like, we have nothing like that, but we still need to thank God because every good and perfect gift comes from the Father of heavenly lights. So if we're thankful, we should give to God. If we're reverential, we should give to God. And we should do so in faith, just like Abel did. Hebrews 11:4 said the thing that was going on in Abel's heart was he was offering his offering by faith. We don't totally understand everything about that, but somehow he believed this blood covering me is what I need to be acceptable to God. An innocent must be offered.